some talk, I will say, interesting conversation, I'll say, about the roles of women and how they're written in the show, and whether it's like a good, deliberate arc or just sexism, or maybe some combination in the middle there. But you've got Andrea and Amy fishing and bringing
They
food
caught
back.
dinner.
And Morales is
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, my kids can eat because of you. So
Mm-hmm.
that's notable, I would say.
Yeah.
Jim talking about Rick to Shane, one of the kids actually, that man, he's tough as nails. I don't know him well, but I can see it in him. Am I right? And Shane says, oh yeah. And I'm like, yep, we learn as time goes on even more than we thought at this time, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Jim said to Shane, if I don't stop digging, then what? Then you're going to beat my face in like Ed Pelletier, aren't you? Which made me realize Pelletier is Carol's married name, and she never went back to her maiden name because we don't even know what it is. I looked it up.
No, we don't.
It's weird, right? She kept
that
Ed's
is
name.
really strange.
Go back to your maiden name, Carol.
Some women do.
You don't need to keep it for the sake of your daughter.
Yeah, some women do though. I mean, sick burn, but some women do. Like my mum has her married name, and she's been divorced for a long time. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are like, it's like a connection to my kid or whatever, but yeah, it's strange. I personally wouldn't change my name, so I don't know. I don't really get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny didn't, and I was fully supportive of that. I think I would have been weirded out if she did. I love T-Dog in sniper's position watching this standoff with the Vatos and Rick's group. And Rick points out, look, we got this guy up there. But T-Dog's up there going, oh, man, just make the trade. Like, I don't want to be trouble.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Little bit. Yeah. Like, come on. And then last, Jim's talking about the futility of promises he made to his family. I made him all kinds of promises. Look what happened. And then in another scene, he's like, telling Carl and Sophia, oh, Rick's going to be back. Don't you worry. I'm like, you're just making another promise. What are you doing?
He's canonically psychic, mate. He's psychic.
That's right. He was right. So yeah,
he can see the future.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's say that. Yeah. Too bad he's dead.
Too bad he's dead. Didn't see that coming.
Just couldn't see that. Yeah. All right. So how about trivia? Then we'll do Only on the Walking Dead.
All right, so trivia-wise, not much on IMDb this week. We've mentioned pretty much all of them. First episode with humans being eaten by walkers. Nicotero bit Amy. There was one of those IMDb trivia facts that isn't really a trivia fact. It's just like, someone just wrote, it was the first very emotional death on the show, and this started the tradition of very emotional deaths. And I was like, I don't think that's a fact. Interestingly, there was a fact that we see a lot of the Winnebago in this show, and at the time, it was the second AMC show to have a Winnebago featured in it, along with
Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And Breaking Bad also had one of those red Dodge Chargers that Glenn was driving. Walt bought one for his son with his drug money.
And in season 2, is there not an intimation that Merle was buying drugs from Jesse Pinkman?
Yeah, because there's some blue meth that they find.
I like that. Do you want me to blow your mind with the apocalypse timeline?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, we're on day 61.
It's been 30 minutes since the beginning.
It's been 30 minutes, day 61. But in somewhere else in the world at this point, Jake Otto is bit on his ranch, and the episode This Land Is Your Land from Fear the Walking Dead is playing out.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
I mean, that sounds crazy because that's 3 seasons in and we're only 4 episodes in, but it makes sense because they skipped ahead a month in The Walking Dead, and Fear in part was more about the beginning of the apocalypse. They only skipped 9 days, but that is
Alicia's
I like it.
Running out of oxygen in a pantry somewhere in, I was going to say Texas, but they're not in Texas. It's still in California, isn't it? The Otto Ranch. So yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Southern
New Mexico?
California or Mexico. Yeah. I think it might be. Yeah.
Is it the border?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what's happening elsewhere in the apocalypse, which I thought was cool. And I think I had a quick look at listener feedback. I think someone's written in about it as well. So particularly given that Fear ended this week, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Fear ended. So sad. All right. Only on
Sorry,
I
just dissociated from my body there. Yeah.
Only on The Walking Dead would you see a heartfelt moment between two sisters and think one of them is about to die.
Only on The Walking Dead would you hand someone in your group a severed hand to keep in their backpack for later.
Obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens.
The people it kills get up and kill.
Are they slow-moving, Chief?
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is a Walking Deadcast news update.
So first, Fear the Walking Dead is over. Yay!
Theory, play, celebrate by Casey and the Sunshine Band or whoever it's by.
Right. Walking on Sunshine. That's a different one. I have not yet seen the final 2 episodes, but well, we stopped covering that show on the podcast halfway through season 7, if you didn't notice. I think that's when. But we have been doing no holds barred roundtable rants for every episode since as part of my Patreon. If you want to hear any of those, they're all available if you pledge at least $2 a month at patreon.com/Jason Kabassi. They're just basically us going through all the faults. But for these last 2 episodes, we'll be doing the same style rant, which is low prep or organization, probably no editing, and releasing it on the podcast for anyone to hear. So that should be out very soon, if it's not already in your feed. So stay tuned for that. We're recording.
And who will be appearing on that one, Jason?
That'll be me and you, and we might have a special guest, but I'm going to leave that to be a surprise.
Is it Kim Dickens?
That would be amazing.
It's Coleman Domingo.
That fucking show.
Let me tell you.
That would be incredible.
That would be awesome.
No, I don't want to ramp up anybody's hopes too high, but we've had a lot of Zed heads rotate in for that, so it'll be fun.
Just tell me it's not Duncan.
It's not Duncan.
Oh, thank God.
I think you'll like who it is.
Okay.
Next, Variety reports that The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, the Rick and Michonne spinoff, is going to be premiering on February 25th. So we knew February, we didn't know the exact date. So pretty much right at the end there. I just think I just hope it's not horrible.
Yeah, I know. I'm using the excitement to cover the deep fear.
I mean, the description says, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live presents an epic love story of 2 characters changed by a changed world, kept apart by distance, by an unstoppable power, by the ghosts of who they were. Rick and Michonne are thrown into another world built on a war against the dead, and ultimately a war against the living. Can they find each other and who they were in a place and situation unlike any they've ever known before? Are they enemies, lovers, victims, victors? Without each other, are they even alive? Or will they find that they too are the Walking Dead? I mean, that sounds awful to me, honestly.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit more bummed out now I've read the description. I'm like, that just sounds like...
I'm not saying it's a definite bad, but it doesn't...
We'll see. We thought Daryl was going to be crap. And
no,
it was good.
I had hopes. I had a good feeling about it, yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to bet you on that.
I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, but that's why I was like, yeah, we need to cover that. For the Rick show, I'm less hopeful, but it's Rick, so we got to cover it, definitely.
It's Rick and it's Rochonne, man. That's my ship.
And Michonne, and I hope I'm wrong. Please be wrong.
Please be wrong.
So next, Seriously.com interviewed Norman Reedus, speaking of the Daryl show, and he talked about his thoughts on some of the cast. On Eric Ebouene, who's Falou. He said, Eric is a very interesting guy. He's super classy and he's fun. Eric brings this light to serious words. He's very animated. You watch him and you're like, wow. And then you see it on camera and he just lights up the camera. That seems totally on the nose to me for him.
Very accurate.
Yeah. On Louis Peach Sigluisi, who plays Laurent. He says, this kid, fuck.
It's a fucking pain in the ass.
He says, When a child actor comes for an audition and their parents are there, they really put it on. I am an actor. I'm a thespian. Louis, he wasn't like that at all. He listened. I immediately wanted Louis. I'm like, that's the kid. And I believe it. I actually think he was great as an actor. He said he gave Louis a PlayStation so they could play together, but they couldn't figure out how to connect, so it didn't work out. I'm like, maybe Louis just didn't want to play. What do you think about that?
Louis is too busy.
He's a kid. He knows how to connect on PlayStation.
Yeah.
On Clemence Poesie, who plays Isabel, he said, Clemence, she was my first friend really on set.
My first friend in my life.
Ever. I'm in love. I'm getting divorced. In a scene where I'm taking a bath and she's talking to me and she's scrubbing me down and they kept pouring hot water in the bathtub. This is the first time I'm reading this and it was freezing cold. So I'm like in a bathtub with her and we had this serious dialogue, which is supposed to mean stuff and have subtext. And the whole time I'm in this dirty bath water, but she was very kind to me.
Oh,
That wasn't really about her. It was more about the bath.
Yep.
On Melissa McBride, who plays Carol. You know, Melissa and I, we've been friends since day one. Years ago we met, but our very first scene together, I liked her right off the bat. And if I like you, I kind of poke you a little bit. I hand her a pickaxe that she's got to put down her husband. And every time we did it, I kept taking the pickaxe and dipping it in more blood and guts, like making it more and more disgusting. Every take I'd hand it to her and she's like, the last take, it was just covered in blood. I can't say enough about Melissa. I love Melissa. Well, that's coming, I think, next week. So
Yay.
we'll have that in our head. And on Melissa being part of the Daryl show, he says, Melissa was always part of the show, always since day one. Before the first script, she was part of the show. She's an executive producer. Before she came here, I said, you don't understand. It's so good filming here. And she's like, why? I said, it's free. Everybody is artists. They all have an artistic eye and an appreciation for art and sound and filming and lighting and costume. You can do what you want.
So she's coming to France then?
I don't know. I mean, this could be just him because she was supposed to be in season 1, I think, and they changed their plans. But I wouldn't be surprised. I hope she's going to France.
Yay. Did he mention the wonderful Adam Nagaitis?
Not that I saw. It was just an 8-minute interview.
Jennifer McGinley, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Jennifer. I'll find something next time. Yeah. Maybe they'd hated each other, which is kind of sexy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Enemies to
the
lovers.
Cameras weren't even rolling. They were just like chaining them up and they were fighting each other. All right. Now it's time for listener moans, groans, and grunts.
Randy Stevenson says, I wish after Rick said, let's go see Guillermo, that the man who walked to the door was Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows.
That would have been awesome.
I would love that.
He was probably about 10 at this time, if not younger. Dabalino Bob Grippy says, when the camp gets overrun, there's a shot of Morales swinging a baseball bat downward on a walker. Looks like you know who.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kirsty Keene says, this episode was a real surprise. I'd forgotten just how good Bernthal is as Shane, and the reveal of exactly what was going on with the titular Vatos was one of the best in the early seasons.
Wendy says, I love that it starts with a beautiful scene with Andrea and Amy fishing in the lake. We really see the Rick, Daryl, and Glenn forming an alliance here. I know others didn't like the plot with the nursing home, but I really liked it. I'm sure they're all still there, living happily ever after. Not according to the deleted scene. Best part of the episode is Ed getting eaten. I love the formation of the Carol we know now.
Yes. Monica McGuire says, Amy's death was so tragic. Never liked Andrea, so I was about screaming at her to get up after sitting there all night. Never liked Carl/Coral much either. Jason and Lucy, you like Carl better than Glenn? My favorites were Carol, Daryl, and Glenn. I think Jason is right about Daryl being written different in later seasons, but then a funny thing how a zombie apocalypse can change a person. Also, Carol too. She would have still been acting all wimpy and stuff and still getting beatings from Ed otherwise. Well, I'm loving the rewatch. Didn't start listening until it was Jason and Lucy, so I'm loving your takes on the early shows. Thank you, nice. Monica. And for clarity, I don't like Carl more than Glenn. I find Carl's death harder because I think it's not in the comics, and it feels more like both deaths are pointless. It happened because of
behind the scenes stuff, as far as we know, not because it was best for the story.
Exactly that, which is why it bums me out, because it was an important part of the show.
Yeah. And I mean, especially having been a fan of the comic for the first, I don't know, 75% of the show, I was always, especially with Karen early on, I was like, because I know how she is, I was like, don't get too attached to anybody, because it is as if a zombie movie was ongoing, which means people are going to die. And it could be anyone. I mean, I think it was this was pre Game of Thrones. Like, we weren't used to seeing main characters get killed off so regularly, but I'm like, that's what this is. And Glenn, when he died in the comic, that hit me really hard, but I was like, I gotta taste my own medicine here. I gotta remember that that's what this is. And so it was like, okay. And I'm going to remember that. Towards the end of The Walking Dead, I started to feel less like that. I'm like, okay, I'm done with that idea. I don't want anyone else to die. But I'm glad The Walking Dead was like that, because it made you fear for all the characters who were still alive. You know, if they all had plot armor, then you wouldn't. And with Carl, it's different, because it just feels like it's about this dad and his son surviving through all of this. And so if I wanted anyone to have plot armor through the series, it would be Rick and Carl.
Agree.
Even though I like Glenn as a character better than Carl, as you said, Lucy. Yeah. But to me, I separate how I emotionally feel about a character versus what I think is best for the story. Try to do that. Anyway. All right. Alma Contreras says, this episode ended up being quite a surprise. I always have liked this episode because of the twist, and I wondered whatever happened to the Vatos after our people left. I mean, the old folks died off, but how about the caretakers? The only thing I didn't ever like about this episode was the opening scene with Andrea and Amy talking about knots. Eye roll. After so many times rewatching, I usually skip anything Andrea related because I just can't stand her character. But I guess this scene was needed to try and get some empathy for when Amy dies. I don't know about anyone else, but it just didn't work for me. I did like the camp getting overrun. This part still puts me on edge. Can't wait to hear y'all's rewatch thoughts. Kissy.
Love it. Gloria Leteri Hernan says, I enjoyed this one, but overall I felt so bad for how ill prepared they were for walkers coming into camp. I always wanted to know, why weren't the kids and their mothers inside Dale's motorhome just for their own safety to sleep? I wasn't sorry to see Ed go, quite enjoyed that part. I know it's early in the apocalypse, but people freezing in place as walkers attacked seemed unfortunate. Yes, they just woke up and were pretty shocked, but I guess they had to lose a bunch of people for them to move on. I did feel terrible.
Wait. They didn't just woke up. I'm not sure Gloria rewatched recently, because there's in the middle of this fish fry when it happens. They're all awake.
That is true.
The kids are not asleep because they're having dinner. But I still think they should have tried to be more prepared for a zombie attack somehow.
I did wonder why nobody was on watch. Or if they were, why they were doing such a shite job.
Or this tin can alarm system or something, you know. I mean, they weren't used to zombies coming up there, but they should have thought maybe some might, you know.
False sense of security, especially when they'd given Glenn all that earache about the car. I'm like, well, if you're not worried, put extra precautions in place. Gloria goes on to say, I did feel terribly bad for Jim. He clearly had a premonition in his dream. Poor guy. Andrea and Amy's fishing scene was very touching and sweet. Why do people hate Andrea so much? I always liked her. Maybe I was just attracted to her. Totally pissed me off how she got with the governor, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Good episode, but too short of a season. Take care, guys, and have a good Thanksgiving. Oh, thank you, Gloria.
Thanks, Gloria. That's good. All right. Penny Lennox says the writing in season 1 is really uneven. The women are especially thinly written, but Shane is beautifully complex and layered. John Bernthal is an immense talent and really makes Shane the most interesting character this whole season. One of the best moments in the episode is when Daryl throws Merle's hand at that kid. It's incredibly effective at striking fear, and it reminds me of one of my favorite moments from 6 Feet Under with the foot. I always wanted Guillermo to return. He was a good leader. He and Rick really understood each other, I think. Yeah, I agree. His situation was doomed, but I expect he would have survived. I so badly want not to hate Andrea. Women characters are often unfairly maligned, and women should support women. I don't know why, but I can't bring myself to like her. Even when her sister is bleeding out, I can't generate any affection or sympathy for her. Amy, on the other hand, I liked. P.S. I'm participating in the John Bernthal head rub drinking game.
Roll on season 2.
Penny said, yeah, that's a thing, you guys. You got to do it.
Oh, we're gonna be drunk in season 2.
I guess I agree that the women characters are a little more thinly written, and that I don't know if I agree that Shane is the most complex, maybe, but I think that the men are more despicable or dumb. Like Glenn's kind of an idiot driving the car in there. Dale's overbearing and moralistic. Daryl's ready to kill anyone at the drop of a hat. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but Shane's such an asshole. Merle's like a racist asshole. You know, a lot of.
I think Penny hit the nail on the head when she said they were thinly written. Like, there's just not a lot to most of them at this point, and I think that's to the detriment of the show, but it does allow for growth. I'm feeling,
I was thinking about that for last episode with Lori, and she finds out that Shane lied to her about Rick being alive. And I almost feel like that's more about Lori than anybody else, because she's the only one who knows. She slept with Shane, but Rick doesn't know it. And Shane is pining for her. You know, she's like the focal point, and she's with Rick in the tent, but doesn't tell him. And she has to decide what she wants to do now that her situation has changed. I would argue that she's at least as much of a prominent character in that episode as anyone else, if not the most prominent.
I think prominent, yeah. I don't know about well written at this
Complex.
point. Yeah. I guess we'll see. I'm warmer on Laurie this rewatch than I was when I originally watched the show.
So far.
So that's been good. Nathan Eshelman says, hello, the Walking Dead cast of us. Just a quick note about last week. It was interesting to hear Merle shout at the sky that he wasn't going to beg, because in season 3, those were his last words to the governor as well. Right before he gets shot, he looks at the governor and says he's not going to beg. As for this week, I really appreciate the visuals of the opening scene with Andrea and Amy. There are very few scenes in the entire show that take place on the water, so to have a sister bonding moment on a little fishing boat was a very unique set piece for the show that they didn't really revisit. For anyone who's curious about the fate of the Vatos, there's a deleted scene from season 2, episode 1, link in the show notes, where the Atlanta group goes back to the Vatos building after leaving the CDC, but the place has been overrun. It's pretty interesting to watch. Daryl and Andrea have a snarky, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, Nathan,
Smurfy,
sorry.
I think is the word.
Smurfy. Daryl and Andrea have a snarky back and forth. I suppose deleted scenes aren't technically canon, but it's the closest thing to closure we'll get. Thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, that's good. Nathan always has the inside info. I'm thinking about it a little more. I mean, yeah, there is way more focus on the men, and I think that might be one reason why. I mean, you're right. If you're going to focus on characters more, they're going to be the ones that get more character development.
Yeah.
I did like this thing with Andrea and Amy at the beginning here, but yeah. I see where you come from. Not that it matters what I think. But anyway, Dodie Sheffield says, hi, Jason and Lucy. I'm loving the rewatch of The Walking Dead. It makes finishing Fear just that much more painful by comparison. Your coverage is great. And I'm definitely planning to go back to the beginnings of the pod, since I got a late start and didn't hear the early seasons. Thanks again, Jason, for the warm reception at the Boston meetup. Yeah, it was super fun. There were a few listeners that showed up, and Dodie was great. I just rewatched Vatos. What a good episode of television. I'd forgotten about this episode, so it was like watching it for the first time. It does such a great job of exposing racial stereotypes. You're drawn into seeing the Latinos as violent gang members and killers, and the reveal of who they really are is so different and so believable. You talked in the last pod about Daryl's redneck racist thinking, and what we're seeing here is one of his opportunities to see how wrong that thinking is. This is how racist ideas can be grown out of, if someone is paying attention and open to learning, and I think Daryl has that quality. Racist thinking thrives in segregation and separation, spending all your time with people like you who share your attitudes about those people. Quote, an apocalypse can go a long way to throwing you together with people you would normally have nothing to do with, and Daryl is getting a new education. I could have written that. I didn't, but I loved it.
I love that, Dodie. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be in Boston and say hi in person. One day. Doug Danielle Dement Yost, friend of the pod, says, right off the bat, we have Andrea and Amy in the boat. I appreciate the sentiment of their conversation about their dad, but I hate the dialogue. It sounds so scripted. Obviously, it is scripted, but it shouldn't sound like it. Anyway, it's a sweet interaction between the sisters with plenty of exposition, so we know a little about their upbringing and that their parents were in Florida, and that they're valuable for catching food. Did you notice the look on Glenn's face when Daryl put Merle's hand in his backpack? Classic. Lucy, there's your answer about how Merle got off the roof. Different door. I wonder if that building ended up burning down, seeing as they left the flame on. Danielle, we're just so in sync today. This first paragraph, honestly. She goes on to say, I don't remember if they ever touched on whether Merle did try to return to the camp like Daryl thought he would. I thought for a moment that maybe he led the walkers to the camp, but he wouldn't do that with Daryl there.
I think we speculated on that, or some fans did.
The not so subtle implication that Ed has been or plans to molest Sophia turns my stomach. That man is pure trash, and that's the first time we see Carol stand up to him, thank goodness. Andrea tells Dale that she's been marking days on a calendar, but when he looks at her for backup about keeping track of time, and literally says, the days at least, Andrea, she looks at him like he's crazy. She's the worst. Remember, forget, spend, conquer. The way Ed just stares at the walker and waits to be attacked is kind of funny. And there were more people in that camp than we were led to believe based on how many people got bitten that we'd never seen before. The whole piece about Jim having a dream that the attack was coming, which led him to dig the graves, is an interesting storytelling device. And I don't think we ever saw again. It's sort of a supernatural future-telling type scenario that seems misplaced in this story. All in all, this is a really solid episode. We get some good walker action and I really enjoy the Vatos. The scene of them returning to find their place has been overrun canon. I can't remember if that was a deleted scene, meaning it is not technically part of the story, or if it was a separate release like the webisodes, in which case it would be canon. I prefer to think they were okay. Oh,
me too.
Lovely.
All right, we got one call about this episode, and then there's some more general comments. So the call is from Colin.
It's Colin again.
Hey.
How is Jim getting any dirt out of these fucking holes? He's just jabbing at it and just throwing dirt willy-nilly. I can't imagine the dirt in George was very fucking soft.
True.
Dude, you're gonna burn out your fucking shoulders. I've had to cauterize a few wounds in my day. I'm not the very staple for being prone to safety. But yeah, the worst part isn't the pain, it's the smell. That it'll make you gag, it'll make you puke. And it's hard for me to see Shane how he is after watching him as Frank Castle in The Punisher. He's just such a badass in that show, and then it's hard for me to see his actual soft side. But I know John Bernthal, he's such a fucking stand-up guy, such a great guy. I listened to his podcast, and yeah, he's a real one. The guy that Daryl shoots in the ass, he's literally Hector from every single movie that involves a character actor who is bald, has a mustache, and is Hispanic. He was in Bruce Almighty. He has a monkey go up his butt. And also he was in, I believe, the first Fast and Furious movie. And I feel like Tom Savini, who is also friends with Greg Nicotero, I feel like they wanted to model Jim after Hernandez from Day of the Dead, from the 81 or 82, maybe 78.
85.
I don't fucking know. But I feel like this show was a lot more racist back in 2010 than it is, or obviously it isn't right now, but goddamn, things were a lot different in 2010. I was only 13. But hope to hear from y'all on the next episode. I'm in here for the long run, y'all. So have a good one.
Cheers. What were you?
Said Fast and Furious. I was like, I knew I recognized that dude. Yeah.
I've only seen one of those movies, number 9, where they went to space.
Oh my god, they're so great. That was
enough for me.
I love them. When you're in Scotland next summer, I will force you. No, I won't force you to watch them. We love them in this household. They are.
There must be something I'm missing.
Fantastic.
If you like it, then I'm missing something.
I just find them. I just love them. Anyway, I have a lot of affection for them. Well,
Do you think if I gave it another chance, I would get into it, or is it just not my
I
thing?
think if you watch them knowing that they're going to be silly as fuck, it's quite an enjoyable experience.
I might try that then. Should I
Mm.
watch the first one or?
Oh, I mean, the timeline's all over the shop. Yeah, you could start from the beginning. Is probably like the most like close to being serious, because like they're just like stealing DVD players, and it's like
I'm
normal.
sure it gets more
and then it like
ridiculous as it
levels
goes
up
on.
to like,
So should I
we're gonna
go to
save
a
the
more absurd
world.
level first?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I really don't love action movies, I've come to realize. I did back in the 80s big time, but these days, I mean, aside from Mad Max Fury Road, which I think is the best. Have you seen that?
I have. It was very
It's
good.
so good. That's my favorite. Anyway, all right, let's get into more general emails or messages. Michelle Jones says, I'm loving the rewatch. I have a confession, though. I never watched past season 9. I'm hoping doing the rewatch will help me get in the mood to watch this again and finish the series. Fingers crossed. Well, if we get there, yeah, I think we will help you appreciate it, because Lucy and I both liked the later seasons quite a lot.
We did, and I'm glad to see you coming back, Michelle. That's great.
Yeah.
Tyler Shell says, less of a comment on the episode and more of a point/suggestion. I know Lucy has been keeping track of the timeline. Thank you. I found it really interesting that, as far as I know, the dam in Fear season 3 exploded around this time, which I think is crazy that we got through so much of Fear by this point in the main timeline. Tyler, not far off. Love that you guys are doing this. I'm not even rewatching at this point, just listening along with you and still finding it great.
Sweet. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people doing that because they've already watched it so many times, and I think that's awesome.
And all my timeline information comes from the fandom wiki for Walking Dead, and they've got a really detailed timetable there. So you can read ahead and spoil yourself if you want to. I won't judge you.
Shanna says, badass women of the apocalypse, Rosita, Michonne, Carol, Maggie, Connie, let's kick some ass. Season 1, Lori cowering behind Shane as walkers attack. Shane, what do we do? The beginning of many frustrating character moments for Lori. Her entire storyline revolves around men. That's a good point. Does she even have one good zombie kill throughout her arc? I want to be angry at her, but ultimately have to dig deep in my compassion well for a character who merely responded to the end of the world with the misogynistic narrative she has lived in. Good reminder to us all the power behind making sure our girls have the opportunity and support to shed gender constraints and be seen for more than their value as a wife or mother or side character.
Yes.
Unrelated take, a look back at the first walker Rick shoots coming out of the forest. The walker is blasted back by Rick's shotgun in such a comical way, clearly pulled backward on a rope. It's too good.
I'm going to go back and look for that.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
I don't feel judgmental about Lori's actions at all in this. If you don't have any experience with violence, and as we all know, men tend to be more violent in general, and you just want to protect your son, and you see these guys, and also, I hate to even say this, but it is true, men are stronger in general, that they're with their bats bashing and their guns, and you just want to protect your son. Then you get behind them and you go to try to find shelter, which is what she did. And later on, because they're in the zombie apocalypse, the women and everyone who has to deal with zombies figures out how to fight, and they do a fucking great job. Carol was so shitty at it at first, but she became a pro. And then when they find some communities that have been protected and the people didn't need to learn, a lot of them were shit at it, men and women included. There are men who didn't know their way around the zombie at all. So it's not necessarily a gendered thing. I mean, here you've got two cops who know how to use guns. You got Daryl, he's a hunter. He knows how to use his crossbow. I mean, maybe it's the writer's fault for not putting in any women who knew how to do stuff like this already. But Lori is not that woman, you know? She's protecting your child. She's doing what Jim suggested, keep your son close to you. So that's how I feel about that. Yeah, I don't know.
It's just a bummer because she doesn't get much of a chance to grow because she's like immediately pregnant. So that's, you know.
Yeah.
We're not at the stage of like Maggie, who I assume kicked ass throughout most of her pregnancy, but
it's true.
Yeah.
Maggie, I remember this scene with Maggie at the prison shanking one of the Zeds because they had those helmets on through the like throat under the chin, and she was like, "Oh, look what I did!" And it felt like that was a revelation, and she kind of taught everyone else to do that. And at that point, I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, look at this. Everybody's stepping up now that they've had to. But right here at the beginning, I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. You never know how you would react in a situation like that. But if I had Jenny and the kids, I don't know. I think Jenny probably would be swinging her bat,
Yeah, I was going to say, Jason, all love to you, man, but I would be hiding behind Jenny.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think about too, like if you're at home at night and you hear a sound, like, and you think someone's broken in, who's going to go, like you and Peter, who's going to go investigate that?
Probably neither of us. Probably like
you're just gonna
we'll probably just sit there and die. We'll probably just be like, no, actually, no, that's not true. One of the cats will go down and try and get the robber to feed her. So that would solve that. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. Every relationship, I guess, is different in that way. Yeah. But it's hard with Laurie. I think I have more compassion for her than I used to. But I do think she doesn't do herself any favors at certain points. And at this stage, she never seems to want to get out of that rut of needing men to protect her. And I think that is
true.
Dangerous. That's dangerous.
It is true. In this moment, though, when she has seemingly zero experience with the zombies, she's sticking close to her son and getting behind the people who are fighting. And I think that's a good, smart thing to do, because if she had gone out and fought, then that would put Carl's potentially life more at risk if he didn't have anybody with her, or if he tried to follow her out there amongst the zombies, So that's why in this moment, I'm not that judgmental, but like I said, I'm not trying to like always stand up for Andrea or Laurie. If I think they're doing something that isn't cool, then I'm going to talk about that too. And there's plenty of it to come.
So much. We have Chantel from Australia. Hi, Jason and Lucy. It's Chantel here. I am a long-time listener and thankfully found your podcast on my second watch of The Walking Dead back in 2020. Can't imagine why you were rewatching a show in 2020, Chantel, and have been hooked ever since. I am so excited you guys are doing a rewatch. I'm not watching along with you guys, as weirdly The Walking Dead is my comfort show, and I won't say how many times I have particularly watched the first season. But my gosh, I love listening to you both recap and talk about different things I might have missed. But most of all, I love your perspective and deep dives into different topics. Thank you for everything you do at Podcastica. I'm sure I don't just speak for myself when I say that you guys were the friends in my ears when I needed it most in lockdown. And now I just love a good laugh, Lucy. Thank you. And interesting conversations about my fave shows. Can't wait to go along with this second ride with you all. Aw, pleasure to have you here, Chantel. Love that.
So, I mean, mostly what I get from this is that you don't like my laugh, but that's okay.
Welcome to the frickin' club, man.
Just kidding. Chantel's new, reviews, and she's been very engaged and making, on the message or the Facebook group, and all. It's a pleasure to have you there. I'm glad you're hanging out.
Me too.
Matt in Sheffield, UK says, "Hi, Jason and Lucy. First time I responded on here, having listened to a range of your shows. Anything Star Wars, Last of Us, Loki, and now the rewatch of The Walking Dead. Such a wide range of engaging shows you cover." Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying all that. Cool. That's cool. I started listening to your season 1, episode 1 rewatch of The Walking Dead and stopped. Watched the episode. The whole series is on Disney Plus in the UK, not Netflix, as someone asked. That's nice to know. Then went back to the podcast. Biggest gripe with AMC, not you, is that in the UK, we still haven't seen any of the new series yet, the Daryl or Negan shows, and no sign of them appearing here anytime soon, which is annoying. It is annoying. That's a bummer, especially since Daryl's in France.
I know, man. Brexit. Ridiculous. That's all I'll say. Brexit.
For episode 1, I'd forgotten most of that early bit except the hospital. It felt so much more tense than in some of the later series. Blowing the little girl away was great/traumatic. Love seeing Lenny James as Morgan again. He was the main star from the fantastic apocalyptic show Jericho. Yeah, I remember that. That had a similar eerie end of the world feel as The Walking Dead. And he always gives it everything. Notably in series 1 of the BBC series Line of Duty, a multi-award winning show, and in Sky TV show Save Me. Well worth your time if you haven't seen them. Hearing Glenn's voice at the end was great. I wasn't sure if he was in episode 1. So on to episode 2 and 3 later this week. I'm a little behind you. Thanks again for your great work.
Thanks, Matt. That's awesome.
All right. 2 more calls. One from Tammy.
Tammy.
Hi, this is Tammy from Boston. This is going to seem weird, leaving this feedback from something you did 13 years ago, but I love the podcast so much, and I was late to the show, so I decided to go back OG and go to number 1. Hi, and it's really cool. Looking forward to keep listening. I'm so glad I was able to find my way to number 1. Now I just got to find 2. Loving the rewatch. It's like going back to a reunion and seeing all your old friends and all of that. It's just wonderful. How smart we were, how dumb we were. We, of course, they're our people. They're our family. And it's just great. I love it. Keep doing what you do. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Tammy. Tammy was in Boston too with Dodie.
I love your accent, Tammy, as well. It's so great. It reminds me of Daphne's.
Yeah, love that. Reminds me of when I used to go to school there in Boston. All right, final call, Owen from Leeds.
Speaking of accents.
Good morning, people of Podcastica. This is Owen from Leeds, England, having watched episodes 1 to 3 so far of The Walking Dead. Episode 1, iconic in the same way that Lost's pilot was brilliant, and Breaking Bad as well, actually. You know, it's just a fantastic first episode. Very much enjoy Morgan in it. And it's great. Episode 2, Guts. We get to see the stench coat, if you will. And just really interesting to see Rick's leadership skills as everything is moving on within that episode. And they're needing to go out and try and find some kind of escape route to get away from those pesky walkers. With that, I think Merle was played brilliantly by old Mikey Rooker. I know a lot of it's, well, to be fair, it was offensive in 2009-10 when it came out, and it's offensive in 2023. But who cares? It's brilliant. And that's how some people are. And you know what? It's fine. And I don't know if it's any problem with how Rick tried to explain to Merle the world ain't what it was. White meat and dark meat, alive and dead. Alive and kicking. And then finally, episode 3, Tell It to the Frogs. In the past, watching it, I never really picked up on the fact that Shane had told her that Rick had died for some reason. I guess I ignored that bit. So I've always thought that Laurie was a complete bitch. And I still believe it. And I can't stand the character in Prison Break either. But I think she's somewhat in a right to be like, look, you can't be hanging around with Carl now, especially not after you just told me your dad was dead so that he could bed me. So yeah, understandable. Rick's moment when he sees Laurie and Carl and his, when they run together, I tell you now, it's so emotional. And I remember the first time watching that, I was very much choked up, and I still feel, almost get goosebumps as they're running towards each other. And it's just a fabulous moment. And more than anything, Andy Lincoln's acting, he doesn't say a word. He's just stood there, sort of stumbles back, and you can see it in his eyes. And I don't believe there's a better actor that I've ever known just for what he can do with his eyes, as you see throughout the series. So yeah, that's my little bit of a, I guess, feedback for episodes 1 to 3. I'm enjoying going through it. I'm also doing a watch of Game of Thrones at the minute, so it's kind of weird. And I don't want to get mixed up between the two. And I hope the Night King doesn't appear at any point. Well, there we go. Godspeed. Keep up the good work.
Not till next episode, Owen. You're fine. There's a battle at Winterfell. I mean, the campsite. I mean,
That'd be amazing.
I'm confused.
Do it. I don't know if you know this, but we covered every single episode of Game of Thrones. So if you care to, you can go to the House Podcastica podcast, which you have to search for wherever you get podcasts. It's not on our website. And go back to the beginning and you'll hear, actually the first few seasons, we kind of did a season at a time, but then, after the show was over, we started a rewatch and covered everyone one at a time. So anyway, you could poke around in there and see if you're interested. That's where we kind of first got to know you, Lucy, because you came on for several of those as guests.
I did, yeah. Game of Thrones, man.
All right, that is our show, episode 551. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Next episode is Walking Dead Season 1, Episode 5, Wildfire. And this one, I think, more than any of the others, is a blank in my head. I don't remember. I remember Andrea looking at Amy as she turns into a zombie, and that's about it.
Oh, you're in for a treat. There's some good stuff in this episode.
Cool.
And Jason, if you want to write in or leave us a voice message about it, you can find all our contact information at podcastica.com.
I might just do that. In case you haven't noticed, I've been sick for a fucking month, and it's pissing me off.
The shadow of his former self.
Peter's going to be on with us next time, right?
He is, yeah, he is.
So I'm going to be a bit of a slacker and just be less prepared. I'll be on, but I won't. I'm going to try to restrain myself and not talk as much.
Coughing in the background.
I know. So while you're at podcastica.com, you can check out our other podcasts. There's 2 that just came out. Ben and Mark are covering new Apple TV Plus Godzilla show. I think it's called Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And that's a joint venture between Podcastica and Ben's Next Level Media. So it's actually on his Wilhelm podcast, but it's also cross-posted with House Podcastica podcast.
Excellent.
And that's directed by Matt Shackman, who did WandaVision and is going to be doing the upcoming Fantastic Four movie. David and Veronica and I just recorded the first episode of my latest podcast. It's Squid Game Cast. And that show, have you seen it?
I've never seen it.
I was hyping it all up for people because I love that show, and I forgot how disturbing it felt to watch that first episode at the end. So fair warning, it's a very smart show. It's shocking in a way that I think is not gratuitous, but it's very fucking shocking. So if you don't like shocking shit, you probably shouldn't watch it. But we had a great podcast last night, and that'll be out soon.
Oh, I'm excited.
This episode is made possible by Patreon supporters like Caitlin Brashear. That sounds like a movie star name. Who've pledged their support at patreon.com/Jason Cabassi. So thank you to Caitlin. She'll get ad-free episodes of this whole rewatch. And we have our Patreon exclusive podcast, The Zedhead Show, where this month, I think if I can get it together on time, we're going to have a few Podcastica hosts talking about our favorite podcasting moments and stuff like that. So that'll be something new. We do something new on there every month. Should be fun.
Amazing.
All right, that is our show.
Thanks for listening. Don't get bit, Christy Fleming.
What does it mean to live for the common good? Introducing the Garrison Institute presents The Common Good, the brand new podcast from the Garrison